everybody, Caleb here in the Rosa Stringworks Workshop. Today we've got a little bit of a different heavy hunk of metal.
I have something more serious to talk to you about today. We've got to stop making fun of our banjo players. You know, you always see them walking around like this. I mean, you know, banjo's heavy. And, you know, it affects their posture, and they all walk crooked, you know, and from that strap hanging over their shoulder like that. And you can tell if they're left-handed or right-handed the way they lean, you know. It's just, you know, the only instrument that I know of with strings that's heavier than a banjo is a grand piano.
This is a 4-string Pelectrum Banjo. I'm fairly certain that's what it's called. And you can see Jerry's already started taking it apart when the customer was here, taking a look at what we're going to need to do to this thing. And along the lines of what we're going to need to do to this thing is fix some of the underbow in the neck. It's got quite a bit. It's making it a little bit difficult to play.
And then you get the socioeconomic statements about banjo players. I mean, they just can't leave them alone. You know, what's the difference between an extra large pizza and a banjo player? Well, an extra large pizza can feed a family of 3 or 4.
I think there's a neck angle adjustment in the future for this banjo. And beyond that, we should just be setting this thing up to play. Now, this Pelectrum Banjo is one of those that, you know, you can see it's not got a name on it, and it's got a name on it nowhere. This was a homemade, custom-built banjo that this customer bought from the man who built it back in 1978. So we may notice some things that aren't quite traditional with this, or we may have an easy time. I don't know. I think the first thing I'm going to do with this is get the strings off of it, start taking a look at how we're going to work out this underbow. So I got the strings off of here, and I took the bridge off, and the tailpiece came off pretty easily too. And I think what I want to do is try to get the neck off. What we want to do with the neck, we can do without this, you know, extra 10 pounds of weight here. So I've turned it over, and this was sitting on here, and I've already taken it off, and I just want to show you what this looks like. Jerry says he's never seen one quite like that. So I think what I'm going to try to do is figure out how exactly the neck comes off of here. Probably very carefully loosening a couple of things. Something else I'm probably going to do is take a picture of this with my phone, because more than likely we'll never find another one exactly like this anywhere for reference. So need some pictures of it put together just in case for when we want to put it back together. I guess I'm going to get some stuff together to loosen this up. Well, I've been fiddling with this for a little while, trying to get things loose, and the neck is almost entirely loose. I think, it doesn't look like that's threaded in at all. I need to loosen that some more. I don't know. It's very weird. And you gotta think backwards about most of it. Is where you tighten one, you loosen another, and vice versa. See, I've got some distance on it. Well, you can see that one. I knocked this one out. Now you're kind of far away. This one's out. I just got to. So I would think. Oh, well, I gotta undo those. That would be why. That hook. There we go.
One of the most mean ones I heard was, what do you have when you have, you know, a busload of banjo players going over a cliff with 3 empty seats? Not enough banjo players. You know, that's uncalled for. They shouldn't say things like that.
Actually, there's a date in here. I think it says made by, and I think it says 1980. Kern, N-E-R-N, K-E-R-K. I'm not sure. I might have somebody else take a look, see if they can make it out a little better. That's pretty cool. So now that I've got that off of there, the neck off, I'm actually going to put some stuff back just so I don't lose it or forget where it goes. There's a lot of parts here. I put the nut and the washer back on here. The screw that the hook was around is back in the neck. I can now set this to the side and we can work on getting the bow out of the neck, I think. So I think our goal here is to do, the most good for the least. We don't want to spend too much time or money on this. I think the first thing we're going to try is to heat the whole fretboard up and stress it, against the underbow, and then let it cool down. And I say heat the whole thing up real good and hot, stress it, and let it cool down over, a couple hours, maybe a couple days, and let it hopefully set in that flatter, maybe closer to overbowed position. You've probably seen we've done this before, usually on instruments where we take the whole fretboard off for one reason or another. That when we glue the fretboard back on, we glue it back on in that stressed position to help fight the underbow. Typically we do that on instruments without truss rods, like this banjo neck. So I do think that is what we're going to try first. If that doesn't work, we will probably have to go to taking this fretboard off and putting some kind of truss rod in, whether adjustable or not. And at that point, we will be much further along. It's a lot more expensive to do it that way, and that's not really what we're looking to do with this. I think I'm going to use the regular bridge removal tool that we have. I got to heat it up real warm. I think we'll see where we can get with that. Well, I've been working on getting this all heated up, and it's starting to get warm. I've got the bridge removal tool here heated up to 425, and I've been kind of just working it back and forth across the neck, trying to get it real toasty. The bottom of the neck is starting to heat up, so that's good. That's a sign I'm getting heat all the way through. You can see I've started to get the setup ready to clamp this. Eventually I'll basically just flip this over, clamp it at each of the solid points, and then put one in the center and kind of press it down a little bit at a time, get it, as straight as I want it to be, hopefully. And the other goal is not to break anything while we're doing that. I've kind of got some high hopes for this, especially me feeling the heat on the bottom of the neck. That's making me feel pretty good about this. Of course, that is working under the assumption that this is just glued on and there's not any mechanical fasteners. Can't imagine there is. There's no way to get to them. I just wanted to show you kind of how I'm doing this. Right now I'm going to try to work on this side because I got this side pretty warm. I'm not going to film too much more of this. This is, kind of a slow and tedious process, but I just wanted you to see what I'm doing, how I'm doing it. Just kind of heating up the neck. I'm not spending too much time in one spot, but I'm not moving it around constantly either. I'm going to keep on doing this, get the whole thing nice and warm. And actually, I think I'm going to use the underside of the neck as a judge as to how warm it actually is. Because I'm not about to stick my hand on top. It's probably a good 300 degrees on top. Especially those metal frets. So I'm going to keep doing this, get the whole thing warmed up. And I'll probably clamp it up because I want to get it done fairly quickly while everything's still warm. And then I'll probably bring you back and show you how it's clamped. Well, I've got it all clamped up. You can probably see it. It doesn't really move around very well. It's still really hot, so I did run the straight edge. It's almost entirely straight. In fact, it has just a touch of overbow in it, which is good because I doubt that it'll hold all of that out once I unclamp it. And even then, that string tension will pull that neck forward and straighten it out. I think it's going to be pretty good. I'm going to let it sit for quite a while and cool all the way down. So I'm back to working on this banjo neck here. This is set up like this overnight, probably close to a whole 24 hours. Looking at my time card there, it looks like I clocked this out at 11:30ish yesterday, and it's now 1 o'clock. So it's set up for quite a while. Cooled totally off, you know. I think I'm going to take it out and see how straight it looks. I'm going to probably try to loosen them all together. I went ahead and grabbed the bigger straight edge. It's got a little bit of underbow in it. I mean, just a little bit. I can't fit this paper in there with the frets. This is a little thicker. This is a package of strings, but I'd say it's improved, but the question is, has it improved enough? There's not a whole lot of tension on banjo strings, but there is tension, and it may pull that bow back into that neck. If this binding should be straight, if I line it up with the bottom, yeah, in the center, it's underneath it, which means there's some underbow in it. Once again, it's not a whole lot, but there is some, and that's not great. Well, we decided the best way to see if we took enough bow out of this neck was to put it back together and actually just check. And one of the things I've been doing is trying to get the neck angle a little bit closer to right, and basically once I have everything kind of snugged, I just kind of think about what I have to tighten to pull the neck back or push the top forward a little bit. So in this case, to add more angle, I do what I can to pull this one back and push what would be the bottom one forward a little bit, would add more angle. So wherever I have to tighten it, I tighten it. You know, there's all sorts of adjustments throughout here. I've gotten it all pretty tight now, and I'm thinking it's good. I may look for a more experienced eye to come take a look and make sure.
Where are you going to find one of them?
I guess I'll have to call Sue. But I'm thinking it's getting close. What Jerry basically told me was, here's a good way to test it. And I've got a longer straight edge, so it actually reaches, and it's sitting on the 0 fret, where it should be, you know, at 0 height. It's sitting on top of the bridge, and I can measure at the 12th fret, and it should be about a normal measurement for the 12th fret. Right now it's sitting at 115 thousandths, so I'm going to want it lower than that. So to lower that, I'm going to adjust the neck angle. Something else I've changed since is I've gone ahead and replaced this low bridge with a new one, because Jerry said this one's sitting really low. The new one's actually just a little wide. Jerry said by sound it was a little confusing as to what I meant when I was describing what I'm changing to pull the neck angle back. So to add more angle, I am tightening the rod at the heel of the neck and trying to expand the rod towards the fretboard side of the neck. So I'm pulling the heel in and pushing out the fretboard side, thus giving me more angle. I think that describes what I'm doing a little bit better. It's kind of hard to say the top and the bottom, because when you flip it over the right way, the top becomes the bottom and the bottom becomes the top. Rather than not confuse things, let's move on. I need more angle, so I gotta tighten these somehow.
I mean, it's almost like instrument racism. I mean, it really is. And we're in the 21st century now, and we shouldn't be doing things like that anymore.
So this is going to be kind of a trial and error process for a little while. So I'm not going to film too much more of this, but I've still got a little ways to go to try to get this neck angle right. So I've got strings out for this banjo, and I've started stringing it up. I had it up to tension once already. But something Jerry noticed was the strings aren't sitting on the 0 fret. The nut is higher than that, so I'm trying my darndest to bring the nut down without bringing the zero fret down, which is slightly more complicated than one might think. I'm just taking a look at that. I think we're finally sitting on that fret. Yeah. Now I have to do the others, so just another little thing we gotta do. Actually, that one looks pretty good. You gotta get a little tension on them to see where they're actually gonna sit. I have already touched them up a little bit. I think I'm gonna get it up to tension and then we'll see, take a good look again. These strings are the closest to the gauges that came off it I could find. So they are a new set. And they're the GHS, in case you wanted to know. GHS banjo strings. Anyways, something else I kind of noticed was, my guess is whoever built this ordered most of his banjo parts from StewMac, because these tuners are the 5-star planetary tuners, the same ones we've gotten before from StewMac, and the tailpiece on the other end is a Waverly, which comes from StewMac. So, just kind of one of those observations. We've pretty much got the neck angle set up pretty good. When I had it up to pitch earlier, I had to take some down on these last couple of frets. They were sitting a little high. I've already done that, got them repolished up. Should be good. So I'm going to get this tuned up, and then we'll take a look at it again. Alright, so it's been probably 2 weeks since I've worked on this last. Jerry worked on it a little bit, probably almost 2 weeks ago, and he got sidetracked with a customer. So now, you know, he finished up what he was doing today.
Caleb was looking at this banjo, and he has improved it quite a bit, this homemade banjo. But we're still having trouble with this very last little bit of the neck. And you can hear a little bit of a buzz. It gets worse. It's really bad up in here. It's pretty bad. The last part of this fretboard curls up a lot. If it weren't for that, it wouldn't be too bad. And I had him file the frets down lower, and that didn't help it enough. I'm going to go ahead and make the call on this and do this myself. I'm going to pull these last several frets, and I'm going to lower this fretboard right in this area. I can look at it from the side and see that it actually builds up, especially on the treble side. It doesn't seem to do it as much on the bass side, but it ain't right no matter which way you look at it. So I'm going to pull these last few frets, try to lower this fretboard a little bit, put the frets back in it. Kind of a risky move, but you got to do what you got to do.
What he did was he sanded this end because it was hooped up. But anyways, he sanded it a little bit flatter and then put some new frets in, some smaller frets in even. And for the most part, he's fixed the problem. It was buzzing, or actually it was fretting out before it even got to those frets. So now I've only got one. That one, I think, is the only problem fret at this point. Although these kind of need dressed. This one's a little flat still. So there's a little bit more to do. Not a whole lot. So I'm going to go ahead and loosen up maybe even just this string where it needs done. No, I'll probably loosen up all the strings. Because right now it is, I say it's up to pitch, but these banjos, they're the worst. It's close. I had it up to pitch. Now whether it stayed there, that's a totally different conversation.
How do you tell if someone has perfect pitch? Well, you stand back, 30 feet from the dumpster, you swing the banjo, you throw it. If it lands in the dumpster without hitting the sides, that's a perfect pitch. It just isn't right. I don't know why people keep saying things like that.
Where Gonna fix that, and then I think it should be set up. I'm not sure at all how high the strings are. They look kind of high, but then again, they're banjo strings, and they move really easily. That's because they are high. Not a lot, but a little bit. And that's not good if it's buzzing down here. I might lower it some more and it may not work as well. I don't know. Then again, they're not really that high, and banjo strings bend a little easier because they're thinner. So I'm just going to sort this bit out first, then come back to the whole setup as a whole. Alright, so this old Pelectrum Banjo is ready to go. I had Jerry take a look at it, and it's looking good. So I'm going to try to play it. Of the things I'm not, banjo player is amongst them. So I'll try my best to make a good sound. Let's see here. Somewhere in there.
I think it all got started back at about the time of Deliverance, you know, and that didn't do banjo players any good, I can tell you for sure.
I think that's the best we're getting out of me in this banjo. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave us a thumbs up, and if you haven't, please subscribe.
So I hope you'll join with me and cut out this kind of talk. We just don't need it in America. Thank you very much.